What's up, my friend? So thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead and jump right into this reading. It's currently 5 a.m., but this is how I do my work. I will sleep after this, but yeah, I like to do readings really late or early, depending on how you see it. So let's go ahead, and I want to actually bring this Zoom over here so I can more easily present. Actually, no, let's go like this. Let's bring the Zoom in the first desktop, and let's move. So yeah, basically while I'm getting this set up, I know you're new to astrology, and I congratulate you for having the open mind to try it out, to see what a birth chart analysis can offer you. So briefly, before I really dive into the meat and bones of this, is that the birth chart is basically, in essence, it's like the cosmic cards you were dealt, right? So I always say astrology is mathematical proof, because there is math involved too, that God exists. It's God speaking through the symbolism. So what I do is that I basically interpret it in my own way. So astrology is an art and a science, right? In the sense that there's a lot of there's different techniques, right? There's different techniques. There's different, I guess you could say, somewhat of a manual that the astrologer should follow, I guess. There's certain steps and important things to look at, and then also there's geometry involved, the aspects, the relationship between planets, but then it's an art, because the interpretation takes a lot of intuition. It takes a lot of balancing different. You'll see it's a little bit hard to explain, but the whole point is for you to leave with a deeper understanding. If you want to schedule follow-up after, I'll give you that option at the same price that I would have, like the same lower price that I would have given you if you purchased both together. Most people do get follow-ups because it's like kind of a live type deal. It's like, I'm just hold on. So yeah. So anyways, let's dive right in. So basically, the three most important, I need to get my timer going. The three most important aspects of your personal astrology, just from a psychological kind of human perspective, is your sun, moon, and rising. It's called the big three. So as you've and I'll present I'll put your chart in present mode. Wait, what's happening? Okay, there we go. Share screen. Oh, actually, before I do that, I need to actually hide what is going on. I need to do one thing really quickly. Okay, now I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I can present. Where did the Zoom? Why did it move there? And I'll show you what your birth chart is. So, okay, so you can see here. So this is a diagram that I know that you don't understand at all. Don't worry. In essence, this is where all the planets were at the exact moment of your birth from where you were on Earth. And as you can see, like the moon is this glyph is the moon. This is the sun, Mars, Mercury, Venus. And these are all the different signs on the side. And these little pizza slices are houses. So in essence, each planet is kind of like the what, right? I always think of it as like the what. It has a function, and they each have different functions. Like Mars is like your assertiveness, like your kind of action, like that kind of like power, just like how you move, basically, right? That's a Mars. Venus is kind of like the opposite of that, where it's like more feminine. It's more, it has a lot to do with love. It has a lot to do with how what you value in yourself and in others. So and there's more, right? So the inner planets are the Sun, Moon, Ascendant, Venus, Mars, and Mercury. So those are the 6 that really speak to our psychology a lot. While the outer planets, you can see Saturn, Jupiter's kind of like in the middle. So like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron's an asteroid, but it's very important. These speak more to they're very, very karmic. They're less like psychological. Like, for example, like the Saturn function, like, yeah, it does it, they move very slowly. So like, for example, you'll have your Saturn in the same sign as everyone born within like 3.5 years is you, right? So it's like, but the ascendant, it's changing every 2 hours. The sun, it's changing signs every month, right? The moon, it's every 2.5 days. So, and Venus and Mars is more similar to the sun, and Mercury as well. So you see that like the inner planets, there's lots of variability, lots of difference from person to person. So overall, so there's like the psychological aspect of this reading, and then there's the karmic, and I kind of try to bridge them together, right? So let's jump into the big 3, and you'll see it will make sense as we go on. So what's interesting is that I met you on one occasion, and we got along well. We got along well, and I know why, because your ascendant is exactly my moon at 20. Like my moon is 21 degrees. These are the degrees, by the way. 21 degrees. I'll put myself back on the camera in a sec. I just want to keep this up for a little bit. So your ascendant is exactly my moon. So that's interesting. So your sun, Virgo, obviously, 1 degree Virgo, and I'm sure you know quite a bit about your sun sign, because that's the one sign that most people know about, because it's just based on birthday, and this very simplified, horrible astrology, sun sign astrology, as it's known, kind of ruins the reputation of astrology, because it makes it look like it's just like there's 12 types of people, when really it's just one aspect of your entire chart. So, and then your moon in Gemini, very interesting. So that makes you the planet, your planet is Mercury, which is all about communication. It's all about information. It's all about, speaking, learning, intellect, right? It's very logical, because the 2 planets that Mercury rules are your sun and your moon, which are Mercury rules Virgo, your sun, and Gemini. So that makes you a mercurial, and your chart is ruled by Jupiter, which is the ruling sign. Don't worry about all the lingo. You'll see how it makes sense. So the first question I like to ask myself is, let's take this off. Okay, so the first question I like to, why is it keep going here? I like to ask myself, which some astrologers, in my view, at least ones I've gotten readings from, and I've seen do readings for other people, can overlook the most obvious shit, right? Which is, how does the sun, which is like the core essence of who you are, right? Your sun in Virgo, you're a Virgo, right? How does that relate to your moon? Which is, the moon is so fucking important. The moon represents like what makes us happy. It's like our internal, it's like our internal environment, right? So it's like it's our instincts. It's like it's so important. Like, you can't actually be happy and live that like fulfilled life without following your moon sign. So it's equally and I'm very like, I also look at astrology. I really like to talk about like love and relationships. I feel like that's such a hard part of life, and astrology can shine tons of light into our needs in that area, because it's all different from person to person. Everyone's very unique in that way, right? So the moon can also give us a lot of information on what kind of partnership would feel good as well, which Yeah. So okay. So Sun in Virgo. Virgo's a very interesting sign. It's very logic based. They tend to be very, I don't want to say successful, but they don't have trouble with like school and with kind of finding their way in the world usually. What I've noticed that there's like Virgo, like it's thought of as kind of like a very like like on like a low side. So everything in astrology also, I want to kind of, it's hard to like in a small reading to kind of give you my whole worldview on astrology. But basically it's like there's free will and then there's astrology. Astrology is the cards are dealt, but you're the one that decides how you play the game of life, right? So your Virgo sun, you can manifest it in the lowest way, medium, or high. There's that for every part of your chart, right? So I just want to like astrology is not fatalistic. It's not it's basically just like it's probabilities, right? So the highest Virgo, like so the low Virgo energy is like very OCD. It's very like it's worrying a lot, over analyzing, like kind of staying stuck in the head, and potentially not really being open-minded. I mean, not maybe not with the open mind, because it is a mutable sign, but just like worrying a lot, and kind of just yeah, just there's this nervousness that lots of Virgo suns can have. It's ruled by Mercury, so that's the main reason for that. And yeah, it makes a very very attention oriented, detail oriented person, someone that like picks up on a lot of things. Like all Virgos, they're famous and slash infamous for just being the most organized zodiac sign, right? Like they'll make the lists, and it's very important for them to have like a really solid routine, and they're good workers. Like they're very very good employees. That's not to say that there's no such thing as a Virgo that's like an entrepreneur, but they're very good at at world at like doing what the world asks from them to do, right? I'm not to say it, and once again, Virgos are very very like, it's one of those signs that's very hard to understand. Like I've seen so many Virgos, like Trey, my best friend, he's a double Virgo, but he's like the most unconventional, like spiritual, like, so there's lots of spirituality to Virgo too. There's a high spiritual potential, because it's the opposite sign of Pisces, which is like my sign. It's like extremely sensitive and spiritual side. So that's also something that exists in Virgo, right? But they have to watch out for like, the being like workaholics and caring too much about like, one second, you close this door, the cat's open. So yeah, it's like in astrology, you have to look at the opposite sign, right? To learn, especially with the sun. And the opposite sign from Virgo is Pisces. So you want to kind of take a little bit from your opposite sign. So taking from Pisces, right? Pisces is a very go with the flow energy. Sometimes Virgo cannot be go with the flow. Sometimes Virgo can be a little bit too much, like task oriented, like this and this and this, like rigid with their lives, right? So Pisces have this ability, and sorry, I keep scratching. My beard is like, I needed to shave it today and I didn't do it, and now it's just like all annoying. But like, yeah, Pisces is very much just like the fish, like, stream, like kind of just swimming up the stream, going with the flow with life, and just letting things happen, having this divine innate faith that everything is going to work itself out. But sometimes it's to the detriment, because they're too much in that imaginative world, too much in that like over idealistic. So Virgo is very practical. Virgo is not like that, right? But that's why both of these signs need to take from each other, because Virgo, sometimes needs to have more of that imagination, more of that blind, not even blind faith, just like that innate knowing that, everything's going to be okay, and kind of like allowing themselves to let go sometimes and just have fun and just not take themselves too seriously. That's what I was trying to get at. And a lot of Virgos succeed in this. You like, I always think of Virgo as like the high Virgo energy is like earth magic, right? where they're able to like take all of this ability, this skill of like, let's say like if a spiritual Virgo, I'll give you the perfect example. Like my best friend, he like will create schedules and he'll be like, okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to do my meditation. Then I'm going to do like the yoga or whatever. I'm not sure if he's doing that anymore, but like he like being able to add spirituality, which is like what Pisces is. And I think Virgo, I really do. Virgo is a very spiritual sign. I think Virgo, it has like a very deep spiritual yearning. And I've always seen Virgos as quite sensitive people, honestly. But this is what's interesting about your chart, right? So how does that get along with your moon in Gemini? And I'll go back and share the screen again. So moon in Gemini is very different. So they're both mutable signs. So you have a sun square moon. So I don't know if your parents were divorced or if you it's not necessarily like the parents are divorced, but a lot of times when there's a square between the sun and the moon, I have this exact same thing and my parents are divorced, is that if you have to like summarize like the message, right, in one paragraph, the unconscious message that each parent gave to you, they would be very much at odds. Like there's very different natures to the parents. So sometimes they can still be together, but maybe like there's rocky relations between the two. But basically, from a psychological perspective, it gives this very different, right? Like it can almost feel like there's two sides to you, right? Like, so there's the Virgo side, which I just kind of explained. There's more to it. I'm gonna go into aspects of like an aspect is an important angular relationship between two planets. So, for example, let's see if you have any with your sun or moon. Okay, so your moon is square Mars, right? So what that means, your sun is perfectly trine Uranus. So you see here the sun is here, right, at 1 degree Virgo, and that Uranus over here is at 1 degree Capricorn. Between those two is 120 degrees, which is a trine, right? And that's a very smooth flowing aspect. I'll talk about that later. But then the three most important ones, I just stuttered, are the square, the opposition, and the conjunction. It's very obvious what a conjunction is. It's when two planets are close together. And then a square is when they're 90 degrees apart, like your moon is square Mars, right? Look, you see 13 degrees Virgo. It's 1, 2, 3 signs, 90 degrees with your moon. That is a tension. That's a tense aspect. So we'll talk about those a little bit, but there's lots of potential for growth. There's no good or bad in astrology. It's all based on like how much the soul wants to grow. So I look at astrology from a reincarnation perspective. It's called evolutionary astrology. So I talk a lot about the karma and what that's showing me about like where the karma is at and karmic themes, cycles and things that are being asked to be worked on. So anyways, so the square is 90 degrees, and then the opposition, there's Mika. Hey, Mika. So the opposition is obviously 180 degrees, and I don't see any, but I'm sure some people don't have oppositions. Mika. Okay, I guess technically, yeah. So you have like Jupiter here at 4 Cancer, opposite, Saturn and Uranus over here. And it doesn't have to be exact. There's what's called orbs, which is like, it's different astrologers use different orbs. For example, like for the square between Mars and your moon, it's 13 degrees and 11 degrees. So that's 2 degrees, but that's still very, very much within the orb. So it depends, and you kind of have different rules to different planets. But anyway, so just explain that. So back to what I was saying with the Gemini moon, or wait, where was I? So with the Virgo, how is it combined with the Gemini? Well, they're both mutable. They both square each other. So the thing with the parents, right? So there might be very different message from each parent. And what that does, like I said, it creates kind of like a dual personality, where you have these two parts of yourself that want completely different things. And it's like, how can I learn to balance this out, right? So I would imagine that you have this one side, that's a Virgo, very structured, very success oriented. I know what you're doing for a living. I don't like to give out information because I put these on YouTube, or it's on YouTube now that you're watching. But yeah, like, you're doing a service for mankind. Like, that's very much Virgo. Virgo loves to help people, right? And because it is so of the mind, it can really do things like go to medical school or go to law school or this and that, right? So that's that. So there's that really structured part of you. But then your moon is in Gemini. So once again, the moon, I'll give you the metaphor. It's the egg. The ascendant, the / rising, it's the same thing, is the shell. The white is the sun, and the yolk is the moon, right? So your moon in Gemini, that is like a very dynamic energy, right? That is an energy that is very different than Virgo, because as Virgo is structured, as I said before, and can be a little bit OCD and doesn't really like to, likes to have its life very organized. Gemini is the complete opposite. Gemini is just like the most like go. It's kind of like Pisces in that kind of go with the flow energy. Like, it just like it gets bored very easily. It all wants to be in different environments. It's very communicative. So it's like I can already tell that communication is like a huge part of your life. Like, you love to communicate, and even like people that have Gemini moons, they can like enjoy small talk, right? Like, some people can't stand small talk, but Gemini moons, a lot of the times they just like enjoy connecting with people. My fucking beard. So yeah, so Gemini moon in the 7th house too. So it's very dynamic. It's multi-talented. People that have Gemini moons can have like two different, like multiple careers. Like they can have, they're just like have lots of different talents that they can kind of just do a lot. And being a Virgo, Miko. Yeah, so with so being a Virgo, like that kind of will give you you could go on my lap, the brain power, and you do have 28 degree. Oh wow, so your Mercury's opposite my Mercury. That's kind of cool. So we do have some connections in our chart, me and you. So that's kind of like I want to find one thing really quick, but that means that that you'll understand this. Like, even though it's opposite, you'll still have an innate understanding of the message I'm getting across. Okay, I want to find this one thing. Okay. 17. Okay, one sec. I'm just checking one thing. Cardinal. Mars is fixed. No, Mars is mutable. Okay. Okay. So no critical degrees. Yeah, so basically, I forgot that I had this. One second. Where is the one I liked? Okay, that looks a little bit better. So yeah, so basically, Gemini Moon, they are multi-talented. Like, they can have so many different interests, and they can get bored really easily. So like, when you think about like the Virgo part of you is structure, the Gemini Moon part of you might like say like you're in this like very Virgo, like, I don't know, like project or like phase of your life where like it's like step by step, like it's not the most fun, but that's going to get you something. It's going to get you to where you want to get. The Gemini Moon part of you will be like, man, I want to have some fucking fun. Like, I want to go out. I want to socialize. It's very social. So you have this like innate need for socializing and for communicating, right? And well, it's so you have like a real need for mental stimulation and like this really, really deep curiosity that makes you want to do things like try out astrology, like try this out, try that out, right? And you're very, yeah, it's kind of like cat energy, like really seeking answers to many questions. Also, a lot Gemini moons can, like I said, they talk a lot. Sometimes they can be kind of chatterboxes, not necessarily in a bad way. A lot of times, yeah, because you're like a Sagittarius rising, so you're really like your life is really, really, really about like growing your understanding of like ultimate truth, right? So you're gonna be pretty. I would imagine you'd be a pretty open-minded person. Which I have a book I wrote, by the way, and that was like a whole chapter was about how intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness and how I think it's like one of the most important forms of intelligence. So yeah, so like with your rising sign Sagittarius, people who have Sag rising, they life is like this grand adventure for them, right? Like where they want to travel a lot, they want to go in different countries and different cultures, they want to like try on different philosophies, talk to different types of people who have different types of beliefs, and then like it's like you're at like a store and you're trying on different clothing, like but instead of clothing, it's like belief systems and truths. And then you're kind of taking what you want and leaving what you don't want, right? That's like a big thing for you. And also your ascendant's on, I forgot the name of the asteroid, Atria, but basically like it's the same one as my moon, and it gives like a very like good demeanor, like very trustworthy. It's very fortunate, very benevolent, very like giving. So that's like a really like nice thing because you're going to project that outward. But yeah, so having so you have an opposition between your ascendant and your moon, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I just see that as like there's one part of you that really wants to go out and collect. It's like collecting the information. That's like the Gemini, right? So going and talking to tons of different types of people, and you're kind of like your more immediate environment. And then the Sagittarius, which is your rising, which is ultimately like kind of like the vehicle through which it's like the mask you wear. It's the vehicle through which you navigate life, right? That is in Sagittarius. So, from that standpoint, you're really just getting from place to place, like going through so many different life experiences and then trying to tie it to one grand philosophy, right? So, and in a different house system, 1 second. I want to just see, because I use whole sign houses, but I think you'd have a 9th house sun. Let's just see what it looks like in Placidus or Coach. Yeah, so in a different house system, your sun would fall in the 9th house, which would make a lot of sense. And basically kind of speak to like, this search for truth and for like broadening your mind, broadening your horizons, right? In this lifetime, like you're exposed to different people, different cultures, different ideas to work on having this mind that at the same time is Virgoan in the sense that it's in this world, but also like letting in spiritual ideas and just like allowing whatever that curiosity, like wherever it takes you, whatever, just like you can have an idea like I want to learn about reincarnation, I want to learn about studies of life after death, like in past life regression therapy, stuff like that. Like you can like a big part of your karma is like follow that voice, whatever is authentically interesting to you, right? Not what the world tells you you're supposed to be interested in, right? And which is a big thing for earth signs sometimes, right? Is they can be a little bit overly traditional. And just following that inner voice, which is linked to your north node, which is in Aquarius, which is super north node in astrology is like the mountain that you've never climbed in past lives, that in this life you're trying to get over that hump, right? So when it's in Aquarius, right, there's been past lives where you've kind of been on the apex when it comes to like being like, I don't want to say like being a star, but you know what I mean? Yeah, kind of being a star. I mean, it's like on the midheaven, like be like really, really, really doing great creative stuff, and you know, me and you have the same south node, north node. So in this life, it's like about how can you be of service more? How can you be more selfless? But also, how can you find yourself, that individualization, you know, that uniqueness, right? That not giving a fuck kind of about like about what others might think of you, and just going for what's authentic and what's real. That's, you know, one way to look at that north node. But yeah, so back to kind of the big three still, Moon and Gemini. So yeah, it like the internal. So I always think of the Moon as like your internal environment. Like it's like where you live. You live within yourself and your instincts. So in relationships, you know, the Gemini Moon is going to get bored very easily. Like they need a partner that they can connect with on an intellectual level. Right? Like you can't necessarily, I don't think you can just be with someone where it's like just fun. Like you really want to respect someone's intellect and be able to have these like conversations. And that's not to say that you have to be with someone who is like exactly like you, you know, to be with someone who's like same interest, same this, same that. But like someone that you, but there is a little bit of that. You obviously you want to be with someone who, you know, you share values with, you share morals, you share, you know, somewhat of spiritual beliefs, but also there can be some differences, as long as there's respect and as long as there's, you know, this ability, this like desire to learn from one another. It's super, super important. But another huge thing for you in relationships is, you guessed it, communication. Like, you know, you'll want someone who you can just like bounce ideas off of, and you know, kind of like who's also going to be very curious about lots of stuff. Another thing about Gemini Moon is it gives you a very versatile mind, right? So you're able to kind of like see different perspectives. So here's kind of one of the interesting things about having so Gemini's air sign, right? It's an air sign. And your sun, Virgo, is an earth sign. So you have earth, and then your ascendant, Sag, is fire. So you have 3 of the 4 elements already in your big 3. And then is there water anywhere? Any water? You have Jupiter, but that's kind of a middle planet. So no, not really any water. So that, I think, makes it extra important to kind of follow what I was saying before about really trying to dive into that Pisces, like the opposite of your Virgo, that Pisces energy of just like making it like a real impetus in your life to drive yourself towards this spirituality. And I'm not saying become a monk and meditate. Mika is obsessed with me right now. Meditate every day and give your life to that, but you know, trying to take risks with spirituality, with things like, yeah, I think meditation is one of the, if there's one thing I can tell you that I guarantee, Mika, stop, get away from my food, guarantee help you, it's meditation. Because a mercurial's mind, they can be so in the physical realm, so in like it can be very, very fast, the brain, the connection of the brain. So the meditation can kind of allow you to detach from that and be more embodied and have more perspective, right? Even though, you know, being a Gemini rising, or Gemini moon, I was just saying, it does give you that perspective though. But like the meditation can slow you down, because I think you're probably someone who's very, very fast, at least, you know, within yourself. So what else about Gemini moon? Super social, like it's kind of like a social butterfly energy. I talked about the multitasker, the communicator, like loves sharing information with other people and getting it back. You know, like love. It's just like this. There's a need. So I imagine like if you were like, for example, like during lockdown, if you were like alone, like you'd probably Gemini moons go fucking crazy. It would go fucking crazy. Like they really really thrive with human connection, right? But that's not to say that Virgo, they can be quite introverted. So it's like there is these two sides, right? Which I have the exact same thing, but mine's opposite. I have Pisces and Sag. You have Virgo and Gemini, which are literally like it's literally like we have like it's like those are the four mutable signs. It's hard to explain, but they're very similar. Like we have opposite suns and opposite moons. Pretty cool. So basically, I can give you lots of like knowledge on how to kind of take the best parts because I actually like literally have these energies within me. So yeah, like Moon with Gemini, like you discover something, you really want to like share it with people around you, but sometimes people around you aren't ready to necessarily take it in. So that's one thing to look out for. And emotional balance comes from being connected to the immediate environment and having people in your life. I said there's like this huge need for variety or change. So like if that's what I was saying before, if you're in some type of Virgo process that is like mundane and boring, that Gemini moon is going to need to break it at some point and have fun. There's going to need have fun, have variety, right? And it's super super curious. So that can also have implications to career. Like what kind of career is and by the way, like I know like I do my charts like the same way for like 2-year-old, a 10-year-old, 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old. And I try to forget like what I know about that person or what that person looks like or that person's energy. I try to forget because I want to just give it to you like, raw. But yeah, there can be implications to that. Like some like the curiosity, like the ability to multitask and have different things. So sometimes people with Gemini moon, they can have like the money maker and then like the hobby / passion, and eventually over time turn that into a money maker as well, or like something that can sustain them. But it's very interesting. So it's very active mind. So last thing I'll say about the moon Gemini is that air moons, as I was saying before, they have this issue with connecting to their like emotions like right away. It's not to say that they don't have emotions. Every fucking human besides sociopaths have emotions. But the air moons, there can almost, I always describe it as like, there can be like this on off switch. I don't know why I always put it on the shoulders, but like on off switch with like feeling emotion. So like sometimes people with air moons, let's say like something happens, like an emotional, some impetus, some I keep saying impetus, like something happens that leads to an emotional reaction. The air moon, they might not feel the impact of it till months later. Like while in comparison with someone with like a Cancer moon, they'll feel it right away, cry, in that moment because they just feel it. The air moons, they can be like very detached and prefer logic to emotions. They can actually like sometimes like distrust emotions, right? So that kind of brings it back to this part of your chart where like understanding so the water element, because you have none besides your Jupiter, which is like I said, it's not a personal planet, it's kind of a middle planet. It's super important for you to like figure out, okay, so what do I okay, I don't have water in my chart, like what can I do to make up for that, right? Because water is like compassion, and by the way, I'm not saying like you don't have compassion, you don't have intuition and this and that, no, not at all. But it's like what can one do to make up for that? So there's actually some really obvious ones, right? Like taking baths, for example, right? Or being close to water, like if it's like an ocean or a beach or a lake, like these actually have an impact. Let me see, 1 second, I'm searching one thing. But really just like doing things that cater to that, because like also water is like that sense of oneness, right? It's like high spiritual energy. So anything like people that have lack of water, they can be a little bit too controlled, like kind of closed-minded, right? And out of touch with their emotions. So it's like, what can you do to really get in touch with that deep part, those deep parts of you, right? So yeah, there can almost be like an emotional vacuum, which they might attempt to fill by turning to spiritual realms or universal truths. And that can be like an attempt to find meaning in life, right? But the difficulty remains like in touch, like the difficulty is getting in touch with and expressing feelings, which sometimes can lead to forming relationships with overly emotional people, or to become like addicted to excitement and intensity, things like that, right? Because there might not be this awareness. Like some people that lack water, and you have, once again, you have Jupiter in Cancer, so that is a very like that kind of pushes some of this away, because that's a very empathetic energy. But they can have some difficulty like responding empathetically to other people's feelings, and then try to prove that they're sensitive by acting out nurturing like activities, like actions. So yeah. 1 second. But then, let's see. Do you have anything in water houses is the question. 10th. So yeah, not even really anything in water houses besides Pluto. And Jupiter. And Chiron. So I'm trying to find this article. Yeah, so it can make someone kind of like distant, not in touch with their emotions. So every challenge in the chart is there to be overcome. So like the first step is just like the awareness of the knowledge, right? Now you have the awareness of the knowledge, so it's like then after that you're able to really deal with it, right? And like I said, like doing like for example, like speaking your emotions, journaling, how you feel, like stuff like that. Like that's and then the actual like making sure you drink enough water. I know it sounds cheesy, but like it's true. And baths are huge, because baths can really get you in touch with, like they can be very like meditating in a bath or something like that. And where the fuck is this? Yeah, so it's all about just like not disregarding emotions and trying to like learn, okay, like this thing happened, how do I feel, and to not push it away, basically. So yeah, physically try to drink more water and clean out toxicity in your body. Water is a healing, purging element that can cleanse and purify. You may need time to really identify and release your emotions. Others can also help you in this area, especially if you're suppressing pain and suffering. And then, yeah, remember that feelings are important and can lead to a higher quality of life. Suppressing them can lead to numbness and an inability to enjoy yourself. Loneliness, fear, the opposite of joy. And yeah, also about intuition. You may distrust your intuition, which could lead to danger. So try to unblock your emotions. Learn to write in a journal. See, I found this. I already said all this shit. Sketch out your feelings. You could even draw them, or just try to talk out your feelings with a close friend or even therapist. By the way, my view on therapy is that everyone, if they can afford it, should have therapy. And yeah, some people with this can they can push the emotions under the rug, relying instead on like the airy ideas and thoughts. Or you may be blind to the needs of others, so consumed by your own actions and daily activities. As a result, you may actually be more dependent on others unconsciously because of your inability to express your own emotions. You look for others to do it for you. So yeah, like difficulty with emotions, whether it's your own, those of your friends or loved ones, or even those of distant colleagues. To others, you may seem distant and cold, but it's not that you don't have emotions. It's just that you have no idea how to tame or temper them, and you may disregard them altogether. So that's just like putting it out there. So if we do a follow-up, we can talk about that and how that plays out in your life. But all right. So we see kind of this interesting like how there's this one party that's a lot more introverted, another part that's a lot more extroverted. But then the ascendant is very extroverted. Sag, rising people, they see life as this big adventure, like I said before, like where it's very versatile. So you have like a triple, you have a what's the aspect pattern? But you have elemental all mutables in your big three, which means that you are such a go with the flow type person, right? So I don't imagine that Virgo energy really gets in the way, like that overly like OCD Virgo energy of like having to do things in a certain way. Like I think it helps you succeed, but it's not like a detriment. So yeah, like you'll have like lots of good fortunes on your travels. It's all about like adventures. It's very, very kind-hearted. Like Sag rising people, they just like they're just very social. They like to party a lot of times, not necessarily in a bad way, but like they like to go out and have a good time. And the cultural aspect is so huge. Like I know you're living in Romania and now you're in Germany, and I imagine you really get a thrill out of like being in different places. So, okay. So with that said, the house placement of your sun, it's in the 10th house. Although your midheaven's all the way in the 11th house. Damn. So basically like that's saying, but in the class it's the 9th house. So I don't know. I have this feeling I need to kind of like speak of both of them. So on one sense, it's like a huge thing for you to like the whole thing about truth, about universal truth, finding that higher wisdom that you can attach yourself to and then lead your career towards or with as the backbone of that. But just the fact that it's in the 10th house and the whole signs, the sun is going to indicate someone who is really like they're here. It's super important, like what they're doing in their work life. Like your work life is so important. But then there's this karmic kind of imbalance. And there's kind of like this been there, done that, because you do have the south node. I'll go ahead and, oh my God, why does this Zoom keep going here? So there's this kind of karmic imbalance where there's some been there, done that, right? Because the south node, which represents, like who you were in a past life, is here. It's in that same area. So you have been very public figure in past lives. In this life, it down here in the north node, it's more about, it's actually very, very in sync with the Gemini mind. So it's about like kind of like personal explorations, right? How can you personally kind of like explore different things and not be so attached to like your life purpose is a huge, like what you're doing for your career and what you're doing for like, it's not just career, it's like your dharma, like what you're here to do, like on like a level that's like an external, like big picture, like life, around other people, not internal life, like external life. That is super important, but it's like finding a balance between that and like also having an inner life, being able to communicate with yourself, right? Finding new avenues of communication, because groups, I think, play a huge role in your life, right? Because your midheavens and your Venus are in the 11th house, part of fortune is there too. So like groups, friend groups, whether it's organizations, like work, like work is more 6th house, but let's say like you get to a point in your career and you start this organization, you join this organization that's kind of like something very specialized you have a deep passion for, right? That would like really, really play a huge role in your life, right? And I imagine that your career is going to be, there's going to be a huge like group orientation to it, potentially like if it's like a company you start or a company that you join or some type of association or maybe associations. And yeah, something that's really like authentic to you, right? And yeah, but okay. So backtracking a little bit, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. That's kind of a little further ahead. Your moon is in the 7th house. So your sun's in the 10th house. So that denotes like someone who's really here to kick ass, publicly and make their mark on the world through their profession. And it's a very, very strong place to have. Like, it's great for status, for success. Success can come quite easily with this. And usually people in high places, let's say like an employer or like something like that, they'll look at someone that's Virgo sun and on the cusp of the 10th house, they'll look at them with this like, oh yeah, this person, like I can trust this person. This person has a face of responsibility. And you can even look at the midheaven as like the social media marker. Well, I guess, let me backtrack from that, because midheaven is all the way in the 11th house, which is quite rare to have it that far. But you're going to come off as like very responsible and be very, very, very good at connecting. And it's going to be great things for your career. And you have so much energy in the 10th house. So you have so much drive towards that Virgo career, right? Because you have Mars, Mercury, all there, and the sun. It's called a stellium in Virgo when there's 3 or more planets in the same sign. And that's all inner planets. So there's this massive drive for you to whatever you're doing, whatever. I know like what your overall career is, but that is like where so much of your thought and so much of your energy goes towards. But then there's also this other part of you that's trying to connect the dots of like, well, what's really important? What's really like worth going towards? And that's why the Sagittarius rising human tends to ask a lot of like deep existential questions. And it's a very philosopher. It's like the, it's someone who thinks beneath the surface, who doesn't just like go with the status quo. And okay, so then your Gemini moon, right? Your moon's in Gemini in the 7th house. So 7th house is all about partnerships. So 7th house moon people, you have to watch out for like codependency, for sure. But really, like, it makes you super relationship oriented. So I don't like saying that people with 7th house moons, like, a lot of times are probably like not single that often, because it's tough to tell, especially as men in this world. Like, I mean, if I'm reading like a female's chart, like I'd say that more, like, and that's been verified by clients of mine that have this type of arrangement. But like, I would even say like a very relationship oriented, like your primary partnerships play a super important role in your life. They can also like really dominate your moods and get you really up and down. And yeah, just like really searching for that soulmate, for that person to share your life with, right? And it makes the life of a single person. This is the thing I was talking about before. It makes like the single life kind of difficult, right? It can make being single a little bit less desirable, because you can take so much of your emotional fulfillment or your emotional like life from other. And 1 second. So that's important to know. And yeah, 7th house Venus, like, you're gonna really want relationships that are very like smooth, very fair, kind of adds like a little bit of Libra energy. And it's conjunct. So let's see here. What's this? Is that Hecate? Yeah. 13, so 11, so 9. So 2.14. Let me search one thing really quick. So you have like a really important fixed star, one of the 4 royal stars of Persia, conjunct your sun, your moon, excuse me. Orb of 230. But it's just, is it in it? Is it in it? So 2. Yeah. So you're just barely, it's like barely an orb. So Yeah, Aldebaran is a very, it gives honor, intelligence, eloquence. It's like a very, very strong fixed star, a tendency to have like responsible positions. It's very good for like power and wealth and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been thought as a very like fortunate, and you're just in the range, right? Like if it's like you're like it's like you're like 2.15 or 2.20, and if you were like the range is allowed range is 2.30. So with that said, let's see, Moon there. It's really good for business, honor, and credit. It's good for domestic, public, and religious matters. And yeah. So let's see here. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so I'll talk more about that one later. It's kind of like I think that's enough info on that. So yeah, so definitely watching out for that like you'll be in a relationship oriented person, but then there's going to be like this part of you that's very relationship oriented, but in that relationship orientation, you might be very like you can get bored of someone quite fast. Like if someone, like I said, if there's not that intellectual connection, you might just be like, wow, like, and then you might feel bad about yourself because you'll be like, you may like, so it's like very important to not make promises, not like go overboard with making promises right away. Right. So that's what I'll say about that. So yeah. So yeah, anyone with Sag rising also, they have to watch out for like that energy of like being too kind of like this is my beliefs, like you have to believe this. Like they can be, and they can be a little bit boisterous sometimes, but like being a Virgo sun and like kind of just like out there, with their energy, but being a Virgo sun will kind of push a lot of that away, and make it more like tempered. But just something to know about. And yeah, it's just very, very adaptable. Like just there can be some restlessness, indecision, anxiety, but it's super open-minded. And it adds some impulsivity to you. And like you're viewing life as this like continuous like adventure with like lots of exciting lessons. And you tend to have like lots of luck when you take risks. When you take healthy risks, like travel risks, for example, you'll like get lucky with the people you meet. And I've experienced that as a Saturn moon so much. So okay. So then Mars, Mercury at 28 degrees, Virgo. So Mercury is in Virgo, it just makes you very intelligent, gives you a very discriminating mind. You can be super critical and analytical. But the worry is to become obsessed with detailed knowledge, right? And especially perfectionism and being too hard on yourself, because you're super fucking smart. And also 28 degrees, it's like, you have this high spiritual potential and intuition, which is shown by your Jupiter in the 8th house. That's like literally like what psychologists and like people that like do what I do, have Jupiter in the 8th house. I have Jupiter in the 12th house. Is very similar. So that's going to be that's actually giving you lots of intuition, which I know I spoke about the water signs kind of lacking that. But yeah, Mercury, in the 10th house in Virgo, it's in dignity, meaning that the Mercury works best in Virgo and Gemini. So that's awesome for the brain, awesome for the mind, awesome for being able to like precisely communicate your point, right? but your worst enemy is yourself. And some people, like, they can have such impossible, like, expectations for themselves, or like I need to get like 1,000%, and then when they get 98%, they like say fuck. I know your friend. I don't like to say any names on here. Had something similar in her chart, and it's just like, when you just like it's all about just like letting go, like the Pisces thing I was talking about, right? Learning to let go, learning like, okay, if my best today on a scale of 0 to 100 is 60, as long as I gave my best, I'm happy. So that comes in the whole thing with self-compassion, which is super huge, right? And that's another big thing that, one second, I need to close the thing. That's another thing that Virgo can learn from Pisces is self-compassion, self-love, like not just self-love, but like feel like when you're not, for example, getting to your best, allowing yourself that space, understanding that like some people, they see themselves as here and other people here, right? When really it's the opposite. People that a lot of Virgos sometimes, like, they're really like here, other people are here, but they'll see themselves as here and other people as there. So like but like the Gemini moon can actually help you have perspective of that, and like see, because like air signs, Gemini, it's like you're able to put yourself in other people's shoes really well. It's just about like really working on like the feelings and the emotional part. That's typically what the lack of water has. But yeah, so like really good for research, this Mercury. It's like really good for like communicating. And you like to be precise in your communication with others, and you like others to be with that, like that too, which is like why, like, that's not my style at all. I'm 28 degree. I'm like exactly the opposite. Mercury and Pisces at 28 degrees. So it's like, but the fact that we have an exact opposite is actually a good thing. Because there's going to be a connection, but otherwise, like, yeah, like it can be difficult for like lots of Virgo energy. So okay, this then leads me to your what I consider one of the most difficult. I think I wrote about this placements is your Mars sign in Virgo. So I think Mars in Virgo is very difficult. Did I write about this? Let me see. I'm just like looking for this post. Okay. I'm just looking for these. Okay. Nope. Okay, where is it? Where you at? I guess I didn't write about it. Well, I need to make a note really quick because I'm gonna write about it. Esme. Here's cat number 2. Okay, sorry, I just have to write this down. So basically, when you have a Virgo Mars, it can be a very difficult placement because it can be somewhat of a flow killer, like when it's at its lowest vibe. And let me explain what I mean. So first of all, like I said, astrology, like you could have completely gone past this and it could totally not be a part of you. But Mars and Virgo at the lowest, they can really like project. So like the whole thing with perfectionism I talked about, right? Which is it's in every Virgo to some extent. The need to have these super high standards. When they when they haven't learned the lessons of self-compassion, the lessons of being your own best friend, acting how you would act to a best friend who came, who had a shortcoming or who came up short in some way, acting like that to yourself. like hugging yourself, like these types of things, right? That is so important. And one quick second. So with Mars and Virgo, and yeah, 13 degrees. So with Mars and Virgo, it can be about it can be projected outwardly to the point to where it's like they can like my brother has this, for example, and he will just like notice like little things about me, not all the time, and then just like spute them out, like little things that I don't even notice that like are kind of just like killing the flow, killing the mood, you know, like it's like why like you know what I mean? One quick second. Sorry, I had to pause and run to the bathroom really quick. But anyways, so yeah, with Mars and Virgo, like basically with Virgo in general, you have to work through that. Like, so that's why the mindfulness and like the meditation or whatever form, like going in nature, stuff like that, slowing down is so important, because you start to see like your own internal chatter, right? What's going on. And like Mars and Virgo sometimes can like, and especially like, you know, Mercury there too, and you have Black Moon Lilith on the Mercury, it can be like noticing all these little things and projecting your own imperfections onto other people that might not have the same standard as you, right? So it's really important to just like be mindful of that. And that's just like one aspect of it, right? Another aspect of Mars and Virgo is a very positive. It's like this epic, a bit like it's just so good for success, so good for being able to just like figure out, okay, this is what I want to do. These are the steps that I need to do to take it. And it's really, really good for health too. Like for medical astrology, which I'm not a medical astrologer, but I know that Mars and Virgo is very good for that. So yeah, it's usually very like goal oriented, very busy, very productive. But sometimes they can do too many things at once. And this is something that I think is going to definitely be like, and there might be anxiety also. Like you might, I don't know if you have like anxiety, if that's something you struggle with. A lot of times that's common with Virgo, Gemini. But like, yeah, just like starting too many things and juggling too many things at once, right? But like at the same time, you are a Gemini moon, so like you do have this ability to get a lot of stuff done at once. But what can be the most valuable is to just, it's like you're in this video game. It's like pressing pause. That's like the whatever it is. Like meditation is the best example for it, but some people have something else like you know, for me it's like running and listening to electronic music when I run, but also meditating, right? So slowing down is super important. So Virgo Mars, like they're not aggressive people, but like they can be quite critical, and they can like be a little bit not passive aggressive, but it's like when someone kind of tries to go against their like system or their way of doing things, like they can get really eerie, right? Yeah, so there can be like, yeah, overly critical, really protective of their system getting things done. But really it's like very humble, you know, like this is another thing about the Virgo energy I love so much, is that it's so dependable and so humble, right? But yeah, very particular about their methods and how they organize and how they get their stuff done. But yeah, there can definitely be like this perfectionist, nervous energy. And this one like guarantees that perfectionism is a thing, right? And definitely if you do the follow-up, we can definitely talk about that too. Because I've dealt with that a lot. But yeah, in essence, like what else can I add? So also like from like a sexual perspective, what I've noticed about Virgo Mars, there can be like this performance, like they can have that same kind of like views of like performance like at work, like in the bedroom, So it's like important, like to just like letting loose is so important. But like I think that your Gemini moon really helps. But it's gonna be really interesting. I'm just very curious. Like, and even if you don't do a follow-up, I would love for you to like and you're a Virgo, so you'll definitely do this if you have time to do like a write-up and like send me like a long written thing. You can send it to my email at jesseinnocentro@gmail.com, like a reflection paper. It's an assignment. If not, but like that's just if you don't want to do the follow-up. Because I would love to hear about like kind of this battle between like the Gemini and the Virgo parts of you. You know, like it's very interesting because they're so fucking different. Besides that, with Virgo Mars, they just want to be good at what they do. And they'll be open to try new things. And so there's this real ability with Mars and Virgo to not, and you do have the fire rising. So like that fire rising, the Sagittarius rising, that gives you the ability to be like a self-starter, right? Because fire is like the igniter. And then the Mars and Virgo can just follow through. Like, let's say like you were doing real estate, for example. Like the fire Sagittarius part of you would be the part of you that's like, boom, I want to start fucking doing this. Let's go. I also have fire rising. We weirdly have like kind of like similar charts, like similar but different. There's like connections. And then the fact that you have your Mars and Virgo, that would be the part that year after year is able to get incrementally better at whatever you're doing, which lots of people don't have that superpower. It's a lot of people like myself don't fucking have that. And it's very hard to be consistent and to be the same person day after day. And I don't mean that in a boring way. I mean that in a very fucking good way. To know that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, and this is not how it's going to be for you emotionally because of your Gemini moon, but there is some ability to kind of be there, right? Okay, what else can I add? Let me look at my notes. Okay, I said that. So you'll channel tons of energy into your routine, into your health, into your day by day, like being of service, all that kind of stuff. Also, like people with Virgo can really they tend to really love animals. They can really benefit from animals too. I think I think that this is like the case with Capricorn as well, because animals can really teach, like, especially whatever, if it's cats or dogs, they can really teach us unconditional love. And this unconditional love, that's not based on performance or anything like that. And can get a lot of the themes I'm talking about, intuition, like especially cats. Like cats are so intuitive that like being around cats like increases your intuition. And you can learn lessons from them. You can learn lessons, and dogs, of course, too. But these are two different things, or two different animals that are related to, like different types of humans require different types of animals. Anyways, what else? Okay, so I said all that stuff. So yeah, and also like last thing I'll say is there can be like this really shy and humble side that in any area of life that involves putting yourself out there and letting go, right? But experience and knowledge are important and this drive generally wins over their natural reticence. So yeah, and of course, having the Gemini moon, there's going to be this push and pull between like staying like the Virgo like wants like stay to the true and tested, but then there's like the Gemini moon and Sag rising, which is like, we need to fucking explore life. So like you go between like this real conventional side and then this real like nuanced, like I want to do things differently. I want a surprise. I don't want to know what's going to happen to me day after day. I want going, and you're going between these two. It's very similar to what I go through, but I'm Pisces Sag. So it's like, for me, it's way more about like one part that wants to meditate and be super spiritual, and the other part that wants to travel the world and like party and like do things like that, but it still is similar. So I can't believe I X'd out and forgot what's clearly called a T-square. I don't know, like sometimes my brain goes bloop. But yeah, basically a T-square, elemental T-square. It's when you have 3 squares and you have it with your sun, moon, and rising. But it's just elemental. And basically, like, but even if we think about it, it's ascendant Mars. Yeah, actually, ascendant Mars and Moon, it works. So it shoots out at 13 Pisces. That's a point of resolution, which basically is saying that the point of resolution for any of this conflict, right? This conflict I'm talking about is the emotions, right? It's that getting deep within yourself, connecting maybe with your roots, with your childhood, with that inner child, right? And like, yeah, just getting in touch with your inside. And a great way to do that is through creativity, through journaling, through whatever. There's so many different areas of like ways to do that, right? So that's kind of the resolution, and it can bring all sides together. And all right, so let's look here. So yeah, the Moon square Mars, that can make one a little bit impulsive. Like when you're emotionally triggered, you might like really like, especially when younger, there can be this tendency to somewhat not explode, because of course, like, you do have Virgo energy, which is going to be, it's not Virgo, even though you are Sag rising, which can be very like doing things before, like without thinking. Like the Virgo part of you is going to like really pull that back, and because you have a stellium in Virgo, it's going to make you definitely think about things before you do them. But the fact that you are Sag rising, it gives a little excitement. It gives a little, you're like, Virgo is not known as the most exciting sign, but you have like very exciting astrology, like Gemini Moon, Sag rising, like, and then that Virgo. So yeah, it's just really like these two, it's such an interesting combination. And like, so it's like, how do you satisfy both? Well, first you have to understand how both play out in your life. You have to understand what voice does each one have, right? Like metaphorically, what does each one look like? What does each one feel like? You can even give names to these two parts and figure out like negotiations, like diplomacy. Like, okay, so part A and part B. Like I call it the fire and the for me, I call it the Pisces side and the Sag Leo side. That's what I call it for me. For you, it might be like the Virgo versus the Sag Gemini, right? Or yeah. So it's like negotiating. Okay, so like, how can they both work together? Well, one way is like having a very structured Virgo attitude towards your higher learning. And another way is like, having your life in a very structured Virgo way, where your success and everything is very important, but then also knowing that you're going to want to have time for fun, time for doing whatever the fuck comes up in the moment, right? So that's important too, is to kind of make time for that. So yeah, it's just like Moon square Mars it just makes one really want to have this deep need to meet their desires, whether it's personal or professional, and really getting emotionally attached to everything that you want or need. So it's very dynamic, and it can also make someone quite short-tempered. So, and there can be a tendency to overreact and unleash anger. So it's important to kind of know that, and know that there is like that energy there, and that when you're frustrated, it can come out. So one way that it can come out is the fact that there's your Mercury is conjunct Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, which is like the ultimate, like what I was saying before, of like potentially like that whole perfectionism you have for yourself, like pushing that on other people. Not that you're doing that, just like how like when you're at your worst. Black Moon Lilith is like, I look at it as like how you are when you're at your like lowest / worst. And yeah, another thing with Black Moon Lilith and Virgo is you might feel like you always have to live up to other people's high standards. And you might feel other people are demanding this like perfection from you, when in reality, it's like something that's really, way more internal. So yeah, like, if your bar is so unrealistic for something, you're destined to fail. That's kind of like the black, the Virgo shadow, right? So it's about like just understanding that. But when it's conjunct Mercury is your communication. So a lot of that perfectionism might like come out, and you might like be like very like you'll observe everything, right? You have this keen mind, this probing mind. You can observe everything, and it can be kind of a buzzkill, like very critical. That's the word. Like it can be very, very critical with your communication. So it's very important to watch out for that when you're like kind of at your lowest. Like for example, like in like a romantic situation would be like, oh, and like making like a list of like the things that like this person does good or bad, I noticed this and this and that. And it's just like, once again, taking from the opposite sign Pisces is super important, and not being too much like that. Okay, so aspect, or actually before that, Venus. So yeah, Venus also is in Libra. So that's a beautiful placement. That's called being in dignity. It means that Venus works best in two signs, Venus and Taurus. So Venus and Libra in the 11th house is very, very good for attraction, for being attractive and for attracting. It's really, really, it gives, so once again, a very strong need for relationships. So it makes you a very relationship-based person, like 100%. And you really want to have harmonious, peaceful relationships. And yeah, so it's like, it's very good for partnership, and it gives you this real ability to kind of like see the beauty and see all the good things in someone, which is like, I know like it might not sound like that big of a deal, but like some people don't have that, and they have the opposite thing in their chart. So it's very, very good. You can really like see that in someone, and then bring them up, like really like help your partners, right? But you're looking for a balance. You're looking for someone that can do that for you too in their own way. And then in 11th house, Venus. So whatever house Venus and Jupiter are in, these houses are really, houses are areas of life, by the way. So 11th house is friends, organizations, also goals. So Venus in 11th house is going to make you really popular. Like it's going to make you attract friends pretty easily. And when it's in Libra, you might be like the person in the friend group or in the association or whatever it is that's the 11th house that is like the peacemaker, the diplomat, the person in the middle, the person that people go to when they, when there's a dispute or something like that, right? So that's very interesting. Now let's look at the aspects. And I'm worried to see where the timer is at. Really trying to give you the best reading. Oh my God. 80. Okay. 81. So, okay. So Venus, so Venus trine Moon, that's very, very, very good for, communicating your feelings. So that's awesome. But Mercury square Uranus. Wow. So that, is an interesting one, because what that can do is that can make you, Uranus is like, it can make you very, that's going to give you a mind. So that's going to give you a mind that is in a communication style that's very unconventional. So the fact that you're Sag rising already, right? Sometimes Sag rising, like I said, they're very not shy, and they might just like blurt things out sometimes, right? And Mercury square Uranus can create kind of a scattered mind. So there's this like rebelliousness, right? That can really come out in the communication. Even though you're Virgo Mercury, you have a different way of thinking, very ingenious way of thinking and communicating. it can definitely like when there's a connection between these two planets, it can give a brilliant mind, right? But it's about like you might have these kind of eccentric, provocative ideas that can upset others, Mika, and maybe lead to like difficulties in relationships, right? Mika, don't step on my computer. So it's really like so it's really important to like look at how you communicate. You can be easily distracted, so there can be like issues with listening, and then saying the wrong thing at the wrong time can happen. It can create like a prankster too. And what else can I say with this? Kind of like a different kind of way of speaking. But really, it's like it kind of just like it's more like these really conservative like people that kind of get bugged by this type of energy, right? And so yeah, at a higher level, your tendency to see the other side of things can lead to you challenging other people's ideas. This can be a good thing in general, but can be seen as arrogance or teasing by others. People may come away thinking you are just out for attention by shocking them or being deliberately argumentative. It's likely, however, that you genuinely see the benefit in looking at things from all sides, which is really cool. And this is like amazing aspect for like, you coming to me with like curious about astrology, right? So the benefit is that all options on the table lead to better discussions for better outcomes. So this is so great to have this Virgo energy, because this Uranus just makes it so your mind is so flexible, so open to you want to have this free mind, but then you also have this very deliberate, observant mind. So there can be controversy, but it's very gifted, creative, intelligent. What else can I say about this? So like with relationships, it's just like discrimination and self-control is needed with communication. And just, but like you do have that, like I said, the Virgo energy can really make it a lot easier. But like this one in a vacuum will just be like people who just like say off the wall stuff. But I don't think that's how it is for you. And also it can indicate you may change friends often. There can be issues with like maintaining long-term companionship. Like, what else? Gives a really quirky sense of humor too. I noticed that when I met you, you had a really good sense of humor. So some like comedians will have this placement. And just basically like it's really good for a scientist, designer, engineer, inventor, mad professor. It's like he has a very unorthodox and inventive way of thinking. So it's really great for like thinking outside the box. So really, really cool for like inventions. It's also great for astrology, honestly. And you can get like income from computers and the internet. So like the internet limits the dissociative influence of Uranus and gives you a long time to think before making rash statements. So it's like just watching out for that, for making rash statements, which is, but there's a lot of genius to that when you combine the two. And like a square, it gets like you've passed your Saturn turn. So like when you turn it, you can turn it into a superpower when it's like using like the Uranus, which is like I told you, it's like the energy, like outside the box energy with that in the box, if you want to call it Virgo Mercury, and combine the two. And that's really great. So, okay. Venus square Neptune, and Venus square Saturn. Okay, we got some stuff going on with Venus. So love, obviously, it's in Libra, blah, 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 beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's square Neptune. So Venus square Neptune, it can create an energy where you can become disillusioned and not see other person, like yourself. It starts with yourself. You might not see yourself. It can have issues with self-love. But in love relationships, it can create disillusionment and like rose-colored glasses in love. So you really have to be discerning and patient and understand that like what's it called? Like that floaty phase of the relationship is it lasts a little bit, but to not make like big statements, right? Because you also have the square of Jupiter, to not make like big statements and to give yourself time. That's super, super, super important, right? Also, yeah, so like you can like with this one, you can sometimes like just like the boundaries between you and like the person you love can be like broken down, and it can be really, really like needed to like have time alone to like not like lose yourself in the other person. But yeah, overall it creates difficulties in how you love others and love yourself, right? It can lead to low self-esteem without corrective action. But you're at the age where I feel you've probably gotten over a lot of that. But like basically, like the whole thing is loving yourself is essential to having good, loving relationships. So it's like a lot of people with this aspect, they don't learn that. So it's like all about self-love. Some people that have this like they can feel unlovable, ostracized, like they're way too different or strange in the eyes of others. Like it's really difficult for them to see themselves, right? But when you come to the realization that Neptune, which is the great fog, but it's also high spirituality, is distorting your self-image, then you work on improving how you feel about yourself. But you are a Virgo, which is Earth, which is grounded, which is actually like better than if you were like a Pisces or something. So once you really do like find that self-love, it has like just like everything in the love life externally just like improves. It's just like but yeah, also Neptune can like really distort your appreciation for other people. Like, and I talked about over idealizing romantic partners, being blind to their faults is so fucking massive with this type of thing. And like there can be just major disappointments where, like, for example, I have the same shit because I'm a Pisces, like just my own way. You see the person, you might make like promises like, oh my God, like this or this and whatever. And then you realize, oh shit, I don't like that person. And then you create this whole karma or like this like major disappointment. So it's like also, so yeah, it's that. And also being taken advantage of is like almost like like the energy vampire type girls, or that can be very difficult. Also, this is I know this is probably not you, but like I just have to say it is like another a danger with Neptune square Venus is like self hate, like at its lowest. So and just like not treating themselves well. So yeah, it's important. But like the fact that you are a Virgo, it's going to give you a lot more groundedness, and the fact that you're Gemini Moon, you see how all the astrology connects. It's going to give you an ability to kind of see through that. So now Venus square Saturn. So this is like you had lots. You probably like really like struggled with self-esteem early on, because this is not an easy one at all. And then yeah. So you have Venus square Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune. So, and the tightest one is with Saturn. So Venus square Saturn, and this can be a really long reading, but it is what it is. This is like one of the most challenging aspects in all of astrology. Because like two of the most important things in life are what? Love and happiness, right? And basically what Saturn does is it creates all kinds of like restrictions, and I call them boulders, like big rocks in front of your path to self-love. And you can feel like denied from like, love and happiness, especially, but after 29 and a half, the Saturn return, things get a lot easier for you. But there can be like lots of like feelings of rejection, isolation, loneliness at an early age. And so like the parents, like especially the father, is huge for this type of aspect, right? Because like how that relationship was has a huge effect on how this all plays out. Because you definitely like people with this aspect definitely need encouragement. They need some like strong parents to boost their self-esteem. So if there's like abuse or criticism, then it makes it way harder as an adult, right? But like, lots of successful people have this type of thing, because even though this is very challenging, it is a huge opportunity to improve on the weaknesses, right? Because there's all these constant challenges about self-worth and love, but it means that with age, you can really achieve long-term happiness. And I have to say, Venus, so this usually Venus square natal square Saturn, I'm just gonna say this. If I was looking at your chart, I would say, man, this person most likely, like, they're so relationship oriented. They'll have so much of a love and a need for like they want relationships so much, but Venus square Saturn usually doesn't make at least the good relationships come until after you're 29 and a half, until after the Saturn return. So that can be super fucking frustrating if you're like this very relationship oriented person, but then it's like, they're just not, the good ones just aren't coming. And you're like, what the fuck's wrong with me? But then it's all about like, learning to love yourself, right? Which literally your Saturn is in the second house of self-worth. So it's like, that's such a huge karmic lesson, right? I know it sounds like cliche, like you could say that to everyone, but I really don't. And like, it's like this, like everyone has unique challenges, right? So, okay, I'm looking at some notes. It says, take, for example, Dustin Hoffman with Venus square Saturn. When he left school and told his family about his dream to become an actor, his aunt said, you can't be an actor. You are not good looking enough. He did the hard yards and reached the top of his field, which involves Venus self-image and beauty, how you project yourself. The key to working with this is self-love. If you let the criticisms and rejections take hold in your head, then these messages become reinforced. Erase that recording and replace it with positive messages such as I am worthy of love and things along that line. Once you start to project a more positive self-image, then you will gain the confidence to make and maintain relationships. No longer will you hide your affections and miss out on opportunities and romance. No longer will you miss out on feelings of being loved and valued. And it says Dustin Hoffman did experience a divorce, but his second marriage has lasted periods of separation due to his career. He has a bag load of kids from both marriages and even grandkids now. But the point is this, is that when you overcome this, Venus and Saturn together equals the potential for long-term relationships. It's just what it is. So, and I think it's like you go through like lots of difficulties in the first 30 years of life and love, but then things get a lot better. And then you really feel that Venus and Libra, which is like the archetype of just like the lover, right? So then there's Venus square Uranus. Venus square Uranus is more about, so you have, because like you have Uranus, like me, we're born like a few months apart. Like we have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all fairly close together. So imagine they're all in this little block 90 degrees away or around that from your Venus, all squaring it in different ways. It's crazy, right? So the Venus one, that is about, so that gives a very interesting and like, it makes the love life like very, like you need tons of freedom. There can be like issues involving commitment in close relationships, like a strong need for personal independence, right? And it makes you really not want to be like bound by traditional societal standards of like marriage and stuff like that. Like, so like lots of like, not only freedom in relationships, but like once again, I said this before, a need for stimulation, excitement. But this can sometimes cause an insatiable need for that, which can cause instability in relationships, right? Like stimulation, excitement go hand in hand with change, the prime keyword of Uranus. In the words of novelist Toni Morrison, in order to be as free as I possibly can in my own imagination, I can't take positions that are closed. So, yeah, it's just like so much freedom needed in relationships. And it can kind of like double down on that Gemini moon where it's like you need that person that's going to keep you really, really like interested. Because like there can be like definitely like the grass is green on the other side type energy. So it's so interesting to think like how these all work together, right? The Saturn and Uranus are kind of like, you know, not opposites, but they kind of can kind of one goes this way is more traditional, the other one's like breaking of the traditional, so they can kind of offset each other. So it's interesting for sure, definitely interesting. So the ideal relationship is where like both you and your partner are able to like express like uniqueness, unconventionality, freedom, like experimentation in the bedroom, like could provide extra stimulation. Like it just makes you like really like want variety in life and in relationships. Not saying that like that's someone that would cheat or that's someone that would like want to have like you know, an open relationship. It's just like there needs to be space, right? And fun. But also this is like usually really good for popularity. It's good for attractiveness. And it can make relationships kind of like start and end in a flash. And in terms of finances, so Venus is also finances. Ooh. It can make like lots of ups and downs with finances. It can make you be a little bit impulsive so you have to kind of watch out for that. Even though you are a Virgo, which is like the most Virgo and Capricorn is like the super responsible signs. Like that's going to actually make it like really good. But Venus, you know, rules spending. So if it's like squaring all these, you know, like the Saturn one would probably make it so like you're earning and like your money like isn't like where it should be until after like the 29 and a half. Like that's when like your potential for like earning gets really good. And then you can really consistently earn really, really well. With Neptune, it can create lots of fog and confusion around everything related to money and earning. And it can just confuse those matters, make those matters confusing. So Jupiter in the 8th house, I mean, come on, I already went over this. It's like, it's really, really good for working with other people's resources. Like, it's good for like, even things like inheritance but like really like the 8th house, like that's just one view of it. The 8th house is like the gates to the unknown. It's like astrology, the esoteric, the studies of life after death, psychology. It's all these things, right? And most people are so afraid of it because it's death, rebirth, transformation, which is the archetypes. But you have this ability to really, 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 it's almost like you have this like lantern in that area of life, right? Where you're able to kind of go through life and like not be scared and be very interested in these types of things. And the fact that you have Jupiter in Cancer, the big thing about Jupiter in Cancer is that if you're like a healer of some type, is to learn not to let someone else's like pain that you might be feeling. Let's say like the example is like you're a therapist. I know you're not, but like an effective therapist can't just like get destroyed by every like really difficult statement that they hear from a client. So it's like learning that. But Jupiter in Cancer gives you a super strong urge to really like look after and care for your loved ones. And it makes you, very family oriented. Then Chiron there, you know, Chiron in the 8th house also is that can have issues with like feeling inadequate sexually. Not necessarily though. Really like, you know, and in Cancer, you know, like, 8th house, Chiron. I think it's sexuality, but like also it's like you can really like become someone who can help, who can heal people. Like you could be like a healer, like a psychological healer. And then in Cancer, there can be like just issues with your own family, like feeling like insecure, not feeling secure within your own family. Like you might find more, I don't want to say the word love because that's not the right word, but more like a better sense of self, like with your friends and then your family. Like there can be issues and kind of feeling out of place. And so it can be difficult. So North Node, you know, I talked about that 3rd house. It's like a quest that, like from past life to, you know, from like in this life to really understand the interactions between people, and like leaving behind like belief systems of past lives, and just like just being very open-minded, like pretty much what it seems like you're doing now. And I've talked about a lot already. And yeah, like I already talked about like the Aquarius energy with the North Node. It's like, a quest towards service to humankind in this lifetime, and a need to like lay aside your personal need for honor and prestige, even though like you do have the sun where it is on the apex of the, like on the 10th house cusp, but like just like doing it for the people, doing it for the collective type thing. So Vertex and Leo in the 9th house, that means that you will potentially like fall in love abroad, and basically, yeah, like contacts with other cultures can like really, really improve your, like it can be like your doorway to higher awareness. It can come through like cultural exploration and also philosophical, like trying on different philosophies, like traveling physically and metaphorically. And yeah, in Leo, it's really like sometimes people with Vertex and Leo can have fame or recognition, and it can really give like an ability to be noticed and loved. So I think of the Vertex as like kind of like a second ascendant. It's like kind of the ascendant of you in a relationship. So it's like you'll kind of appear as this like very fun loving, like inner child, like when you're in relationships, like the inner child, like really fun part of you will come out, which is cool, which is linked to your past lives, the South Node over there at 25 Leo. Okay. So, okay, to add to the love stuff, Juno is in Virgo. So Juno is like what you look for like in a marriage partner. Juno in Virgo is like all about in the 10th house. There can be, and this goes back to like this Venus square Neptune, and something I didn't mention about that. You're really looking for the perfect partner, right? So you may need to make some adjustments. Like, how do I say this? Like, I have the same shit, man. So it's like some of us, we have this like idea in our head of like what our partner, our perfect partner will be, and then we realize like no fucking human is perfect. It's just impossible. And it's like the word compromise sucks, right? But it's like at some point we realize like if the person checks off most of our boxes, we feel comfortable with them, we trust them. Like maybe this whole idea in our head of this perfect twin flame, like perfect person that's just going to have everything is going to be perfect. Like maybe that's just like a figment of our imagination, So yeah, like being able to accept less than perfection, and really like Juno and Virgo people, like it just speaks to like having this need for a consistent human, someone you trust, someone who can like share this Virgo-ness as you, right? Like share this ability, this understanding of like how things getting done in a certain way, whether it's cleanliness or organization or a connection to career, all these types of things, right? Chores, right? Like little things that some people like brush over, Virgos really care about. Like my mom's a Virgo, and like she's just like will notice if like there's like a few little crumbs like left out. I'm not like on when I'm visiting her. And it's like I'm not saying that's you, but it's just like Virgos care about little details. And yeah, so that's important. So we're getting close here. So part of fortune in the 11th house in Libra. So once again, joy for you is discovered through ideas which uplift and serve humanity, and like also through like finding this really beautiful like balanced friend group. And And also, yeah, like just any type of like harmony in human relations is amazing. And you'll feel a lot of fulfillment when you have a sense of belonging to like a group or like a real tribe. I don't know, tribe type group. Like I don't like the word tribe for some reason. But you know what I mean. And like the midheaven being in the 11th house, it sort of just means that like your career and your dharma is going to be linked to to working in a group in some type of way. Okay, let's see if I've left out any aspects. Yeah, so you got a loaded Venus squares. So definitely, like if you have a follow up, make sure to remind me because I'll forget everything about the squares to Venus. Okay. But yeah, your Mars is very like, even though it's in Virgo, it's quite well aspected. So that's good, meaning that it's getting positive reinforcements from other planets that are making it more, giving you more, giving it more potence. You have one that's really good for sports and firepower, like physical firepower. Okay. And then South Node, where you at? So we don't really have anything too crazy with the nodes. Let's just double check that with my eyes. 25. 12, 25. Yeah, it's not quite. So, 1 second, you search one thing. I need to see what this is saying. Or Okay, I understand. Okay, so second house. Okay, so basically, like, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune all in the second. Like you're here to learn lessons around self-worth, around not taking your power from your relationships and from other people, from your like how you are with other people, but from finding within. So what can happen with Uranus, my ear just popped, in the second house is there can be lots of ups and downs in finances. And it's really important to find the like internal value, to where you're not overly obsessed with like the external. And karmically, it can really bring these like ups and downs when it comes to income. Like money's there one moment and gone the next. So, but also it can be really good for like super like ingenious like money making schemes, right? And Uranus second. What else can I say? I don't know. What else can I say about Uranus second house? Let's pull up my notes. Yeah, so like the like living like a bohemian kind of like life can be like very appealing. Like not wanting to like get too, because it can really unsettle finances. So yeah, it can create like a minimalist, but also someone who buys like eccentric things. But then you have Neptune and Saturn there, so like money is this issue, right? So Saturn in the second house, there can be feelings of like emotional and financial poverty early in life. Even if you came from money or something, that like it can like people with this, like I have an uncle who has this, and it's like he has done super well like in his life in real estate. He didn't come from money at all. My dad's family didn't at all, but he owns like tons of houses, but he still doesn't spend anything. Like he has like the same old like car, same old like pants. He never like the shoes he hasn't changed in like 10 years. It's just like insane. It's like, what are you saving it for? Right? Because he definitely has like past life memories of being very, very poor. Yeah, Saturn Capricorn, I have that too. It's like really, really strong worldly ambitions, responsible worker. Yeah, just kind of like is really good with that whole with your Virgo energy, and you have the trine with all these in your Virgo. So your Virgo, these ones that are difficult in your Venus are really good on your Virgo, which is like your sense of self. Or well, the Venus is like, yeah, they're both kind of sense of self, but like the identity. So that is very good. Okay, so then Neptune in the second, that is like gonna make finances like let's talk more about from a self-worth standpoint. Neptune is going to make you have like an unrealistic assessment and lots of fog around your self-worth, and there can be a lack of clarity surrounding money and possessions. So there's like this big need to link monetary values with spiritual values, right? And to understand that what's really important is what's within, not like all these other things. There's distractions. But Saturn second house, yeah, I mean, there's going to be lots of karmic lessons learned around money. So, but this is actually a really good place for Saturn to be placed. Usually Saturn kind of makes it an issue, but so I would think that like, you know, it could be really, really good for money, like long term and for earning. So, but it completely has to do with that Venus square, like the self-esteem stuff. But yeah, like I said, like it can give someone who born to a poor family, who has to learn to live from like minimal resources. It can create like a survivor, as I said before. And usually, yeah, success comes like slowly but surely, right? And it's that hard work ethic. And sometimes there can, yeah, workaholism you have to watch out for. They can like really dedicate a lot of time to establishing a security net, and they need to heal traumas related to financial difficulties, whether it's in this house or not. So usually they like but you have Uranus there, so usually it's like they'll be very conservative with spending. Uranus kind of offsets that to where it's just somewhere in the middle. Usually this isn't like a gambler, but the Uranus is right there, which is the exact gambler. So they kind of offset each other. And yeah, Neptune, I guess it's sometimes makes people just like not really care as much about material gain. And it can be very impractical with things that concern money, but you know, you do have like so much other energy in your chart that pushes that away. Also, one thing, okay, Neptune second house, you have to, okay, this is super important. There can be this undervaluation of one's own work in charging way too little, which I charge way too little, but I'm doing that purposely. But like charging too little for, you know, what they deserve, basically, right? So that's one thing to really look out for. And yeah. So, okay, I think I feel good about those. Okay, moving on. So like, yeah, Pisces ruling the fourth house. it can kind of create this like idyllic view of your family. Like you may see your family members as, or you may not see them as they really are. Like one of your parents may have been absent during childhood. And as an adult, sometimes you might like only remember the good times when the times weren't always necessarily good. But I'm not getting any indications of that besides the square, the sun, and the moon. Okay, so wrapping up, we've pretty much talked about all these. So last is Pluto, and I always use my Pluto book. Let me go get that. Okay, so Pluto is like a super important planet, and it has to do with like shadow work. It's kind of like the North Node, but it's like where it's like it speaks about like kind of like where you have to what like the deep internal work you have to do to get to the next level as a soul, like evolutionary level. Like so yours is in a very, this is like my favorite one, the 12th house, Pluto, because it's very much about learning to let go and learning to just trust, like trust God, trust the universe. And let's see if I can find, I've had this since I started doing astrology, and it's kind of like a ceremony where I like to just kind of read the notes I have. Okay. So the central issue is how to relate to creation as a whole, how to align the individual consciousness with a transcendent belief system that allows for an experience of surrender to and or participation with the whole of life. There's a need to identify/dissolve the barriers between the individual and collective unconscious in order to align the personal energy with collective or transcendent ones. So dissolve the barriers between individual and collective unconscious. The evolutionary goal is to step out of the self and into the world of transpersonal, like spiritual forces. Loss of control can generate anxiety, which is like, Virgo is all about sometimes control, right? So loss of control can generate anxiety and phobias. This placement is saying that your next step in your evolutionary like karma is to let go and trust the infinite ocean, which is, a metaphor of like the connection of all that is. This fear can be similar to the fear of death, and the person may cling to materiality / whatever represents individual power to keep control. So it's all about jumping off the cliff of Saturn, because Saturn represents like the material world, the rules, the consensus reality, and into the sea of Neptune. Neptune represents like this otherworldly, non-dualistic, high spiritual and mystical experience of just like, maybe I don't understand everything, intuitive too, maybe I can't mathematically prove it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and I want to experience it. So there's a tendency to elevate the rock, which is like the material, anything material, and cling to it. And it can be through a relationship, a subgroup, a way of thinking, a job, anything like that. If surrender happens, this is all about surrender. Space / time can be rejuvenated and feel like a playground. The alternative, though, can be cycles of meaninglessness and feeling like everything is meaningless. So the Virgo polarity point is the healing is, you are a Virgo. It's a daily step-by-step techniques. I already talked about this, like consistent work, like meditation, prayer, mantra, self-analysis, writing, right? And also having your spirit grounded into some type of service. So, yeah. And then how has this dynamic of surrender / resistance occurred in past lives. So how has this dynamic of surrender / resistance occurred in past lives? Good question. Well, in past lives, there's been kind of a star public, like definitely someone who's probably clung to like I don't mean clung in a bad way, but definitely someone who's been prominent in society and who's a Leo energy is like the star. It's like the look at me. It's like the individualistic, so it's like in this life, how can you, through your search for information, through your curious investigations, how can you help humanity? How can you be selfless? How can you be part of the big picture while also moving the needle forward for yourself in this kind of like, truth finding way, as you spoke about with your Sagittarius, because Jupiter ruling your chart, right, in the 8th house, psychology, like understanding like the undercurrents of life is going to be super important for you. You're going to be very interested in like lots of things. So it's all about follow that voice, that real voice within you, not what people tell you to do. Of course, we have to pay the bills. You have to have, the career that does that, but also, that Gemini moon needs things different, needs to kind of go its own way. So with that said, I feel good about that. I think this might be a new record. I don't know if I've ever done a 2-hour reading before, but it is what it is. And I know that this was like a new experience for you. So I probably spent more time like explaining astrology and different aspects of it. But I hope you enjoy this, and I really hope we can have a follow-up. There's other stuff that I can talk, like there's astrology is so endless. Like there's like other stuff that I can talk, that I still like can talk about further and go further into, that simply we just didn't have the time to go into in this one. If I'm at the 2-hour mark, even someone with all the Virgo energy like you, there's a limit to how much you can take in. So I hope you enjoy. And also the reason I put this on YouTube is because I used to send them as emails, but a lot of people, a lot of clients would like, because you get this birth chart done once a year. Like most of my clients, or not most, I'd say half of them, I encourage them to come back once a year to get their current astrology done. So if you're interested in that, let me know too. That's like a completely different reading. That's a live reading. But this one you get done like once in your life. So I put it on YouTube because like, it's like people can lose, like I would send them in emails first, right? Like my first 4 years of being an astrologer. And somehow I would like, people would either lose them, or I have to eventually clear my Google Drive, and I would always tell people to save them somewhere. Maybe they'd even save it somewhere and lose it. So this is just way easier. I don't share any of last names or information that's like personal. It's completely anonymous. No one's going to know who you are or who anyone is that I do these readings for. So I hope you enjoyed, and talk soon, my friend. All right, bye bye, ciao.